On a chilly autumn night, four friends, Jake, Emily, Noah, and Lisa, stood at the gate of Ravenswood Manor. The old house was rumored to be haunted, but they were determined to spend the night inside to prove their bravery. They pushed open the creaky front door and stepped into the foyer. The air was musty, and the only light came from their flashlights. Dust-covered furniture and cobwebs filled the room, adding to the eerie atmosphere. They moved into the living room, where a grand piano stood in one corner, and an old tattered sofa sat under a large broken window. Suddenly, the piano played a single, eerie note, making everyone jump. They cautiously climbed the creaky staircase to the second floor. The hallway was long and dark, with several closed doors. A cold breeze made them shiver, and they heard faint, eerie whispers. They opened one door and found an old nursery. Dusty toys were scattered around, and a rocking chair in the corner started moving on its own. They heard a child's laughter echoing through the room. Panicking, they ran downstairs and found a door leading to the basement. Despite their fear, they decided to investigate. The basement was even darker and colder. Strange symbols were drawn on the walls, and old furniture was strewn around. In the basement, they heard footsteps behind them. Turning around, they saw the ghostly figure of a woman in a tattered dress. Her hollow eyes stared at them as she whispered, "Leave this place." Screaming, they ran up the stairs and out of the house. The door slammed shut behind them, and they could still hear the ghostly whispers. They vowed never to return to Ravenswood Manor. Back at home, the friends sat together, still shaken by their experience. They knew they had encountered something truly terrifying and agreed never to speak of it again.
A group of friends, Sam, Lily, Ben, and Emma, arrive at Willow Lake, a secluded campground nestled deep in the woods. The air is thick with anticipation as they unpack their gear and set up camp beside the tranquil waters. The sun sets in the distance, casting an orange glow over the towering trees that surround them. As night falls, the friends gather around a crackling campfire, their faces illuminated by the dancing flames. They share spooky stories of ghosts and ghouls, their laughter echoing through the silent forest. But as the tales grow darker, a sense of unease settles over the group, and they can't shake the feeling that they are being watched. As they settle into their tents for the night, strange noises echo through the woods, creaking branches, rustling leaves, and eerie whispers that seem to float on the breeze. The friends huddle together, their hearts pounding with fear as they try to rationalize the unexplained phenomena. But deep down, they know that something sinister lurks in the darkness. Unable to shake their fear, the friends decide to investigate the source of the strange noises. Armed with flashlights, they venture into the dark woods, their footsteps muffled by the thick carpet of pine needles beneath their feet. The air is heavy with anticipation as they follow the trail deeper into the forest, their hearts pounding with each step. Eventually, they stumble upon a clearing in the woods, where an ancient oak tree stands sentinel in the moonlight. Strange symbols are etched into its bark, and a sense of malevolence hangs heavy in the air. As they approach, they are overcome by a wave of dread, knowing that they have stumbled upon something beyond their understanding. Suddenly, ghostly figures materialize before them, translucent apparitions with hollow eyes and outstretched hands. The spirits drift through the clearing, their movements graceful yet unsettling. The friends watch in horror as the ghosts draw closer, their presence filling the night with a chilling aura. With adrenaline coursing through their veins, the friends turn and flee from the haunted clearing, their hearts pounding with terror. They race through the darkened woods, their footsteps echoing off the trees as they struggle to escape the malevolent spirits that pursue them. Branches claw at their skin, and roots trip them up as they push themselves to their limits.
In the heart of Blackwood Forest, a group of friends, Jack, Sarah, Luke, and Emma, embarks on a dare to explore the forbidden woods. As they enter the forest, tall trees cast long shadows, and a sense of foreboding hangs in the air. Pushing deeper into the forest, they follow a winding path that seems to disappear into the shadows. The air grows cooler, and strange noises echo through the trees. Despite their growing unease, they press on, driven by curiosity and adrenaline. Suddenly, they stumble upon a moonlit clearing, the ground littered with decaying leaves and gnarled roots. In the center stands an ancient, dilapidated cabin, its windows shattered and its doors hanging off their hinges. The air is heavy with the stench of decay. With trepidation, they approach the cabin and cautiously step inside. The interior is shrouded in darkness, the only light coming from their flickering flashlights. Cobwebs cling to the walls and the floorboards creak ominously beneath their feet. As they explore further, they begin to hear faint whispers that seem to emanate from the walls themselves. The whispers grow louder and more insistent, filling the cabin with an otherworldly chorus that sends shivers down their spines. Suddenly, a dark shadow materializes before them, its form shifting and twisting in the dim light. It looms over them, its eyes glowing with malevolence as it reaches out with ghostly hands. Frozen with fear, they realize they have awakened something ancient and sinister. With a collective scream, the friends flee from the cabin, their hearts pounding with terror. They race through the forest, the shadows closing in around them as they run. Behind them, they can hear the echoing laughter of the darkness that lurks within Blackwood Forest. Exhausted and trembling, the friends emerge from Blackwood Forest, their minds reeling from the horrors they've witnessed. They vow never to return to the haunted woods, haunted by the shadows that lurk within its depths. In a secluded forest, shrouded in mist, lies an ancient mansion rumored to be haunted. A group of friends, Emma, Mark, and Sarah, venture into the forest one chilly evening, drawn by the allure of the mansion's dark history. As they approach the mansion, they are greeted by an imposing wrought iron gate, its hinges creaking ominously in the chilly night air. The mansion looms before them, its grandeur faded and its windows like empty eyes staring out into the darkness. Inside the mansion, the air is thick with dust and the sound of creaking floorboards echoes through the empty halls. The friends explore room after room, their footsteps muffled by faded carpets and their voices swallowed by the oppressive silence. As they delve deeper into the mansion, they uncover signs of its dark past. Forgotten rooms filled with cobweb-covered furniture, secret passages hidden behind crumbling walls, and faded portraits of long-dead residents whose eyes seem to follow their every move. As night falls and shadows deepen, the mansion comes alive with strange noises and eerie whispers. The friends feel a presence lurking in the darkness, unseen but unmistakably malevolent, its icy fingers brushing against their skin like the chill of a grave. In a desperate bid to escape the mansion's grasp, the friends race through its labyrinthine halls, their hearts pounding and their breath coming in ragged gasps. But the mansion seems to have other plans, its corridors shifting and changing before their eyes, trapping them in a nightmarish maze from which there may be no escape. Cornered in the mansion's dark heart, the friends confront the malevolent force that has plagued them since their arrival. With a final desperate act of defiance, they banish the entity back into the shadows from whence it came, freeing themselves from its grasp and escaping into the night.
On a moonless night, a car winds its way along a desolate road flanked by dense forest. Inside the car are four friends, Sam, Emily, Alex, and Lily, on their way to a remote cabin for a weekend getaway. The headlights cut through the darkness, casting long shadows on the trees. Eventually, they arrive at the remote cabin, a rustic wooden structure nestled among the trees. The air is still, and the only sound is the distant hoot of an owl. As they unpack their belongings, a sense of isolation settles over them, amplifying the feeling of unease. As night falls, the friends decide to explore the surrounding forest, eager for adventure. But as they venture deeper into the woods, they feel an oppressive presence weighing down on them. Strange symbols are etched into the trees, their meanings lost to time. Suddenly, a chill wind sweeps through the forest, carrying with it faint whispers that seem to echo through the trees. The friends stop in their tracks, their hearts pounding in their chests. The whispers grow louder, filling the air with an eerie chorus that sends shivers down their spines. Suddenly, ghostly apparitions materialize among the trees, translucent figures with hollow eyes and outstretched hands. Their ethereal forms glow faintly in the darkness, and their voices fill the air with haunting wails. The friends watch in horror as the spirits drift closer, their movements slow and deliberate. With adrenaline coursing through their veins, the friends turn and flee from the forest, their footsteps echoing through the darkness. Branches claw at their clothes, and roots trip them up as they race back to the safety of the cabin. Behind them, the ghostly spirits follow, their unearthly wails growing fainter with each step. Exhausted and trembling, the friends burst through the door of the cabin, their minds reeling from the horrors they've witnessed. They lock the door behind them, their hearts still racing with fear. Inside the cabin, they huddle together, grateful for the safety of four walls and a roof.
It was a gloomy autumn afternoon when Emma, Liam, and Sarah arrived at Hollow Hill. The old mansion, inherited by Emma from a distant relative, stood isolated atop a hill surrounded by thick leafless trees. The wind howled and the sky was an ominous gray. "This place is huge," Liam said, looking up at the towering structure. "And creepy," Emma nodded, clutching the old rusted key. "Let's get inside before it gets dark." They pushed open the creaky door and stepped into a grand dusty foyer. The air was thick with the smell of decay, and shadows danced in the corners. The interior of the mansion was just as foreboding. Cobwebs draped the chandeliers and the floorboards creaked under their weight. As they explored, they found rooms filled with antique furniture, old portraits, and thick layers of dust. "Look at this," Sarah said, pointing to a large dusty portrait of a stern-looking man. "He must be one of your ancestors, Emma." Emma shivered. "Let's keep looking." In the library, they discovered a collection of ancient books. One particularly old book caught Emma's eye. It was bound in dark leather with a strange symbol on the cover. "This looks interesting," Emma said, opening it carefully. That night, they settled into their rooms. The mansion was eerily silent, with only the sound of the wind outside. As Emma lay in bed, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Suddenly, she heard whispers. Sitting up, she saw a shadow move across the room. "Who's there?" she called out. But there was no response. Terrified, she ran to Liam's room. "Liam, I saw something." Liam rubbed his eyes. "It was probably just your imagination. This place is spooky." But Emma knew what she saw. Something was not right in Hollow Hill. The next day, Emma and her friends decided to investigate the history of the mansion. In the library, they found an old journal belonging to the man in the portrait, Sir Edward Holloway. "Listen to this," Emma said, reading aloud. "He writes about strange rituals and dark magic." Sarah's eyes widened. That explains the creepy vibes. As they continued reading, they discovered that Sir Edward had conducted forbidden experiments, trying to unlock the secrets of immortality. Many people had gone missing in the area during his time. "This is bad," Liam said. "We need to be careful." While exploring the basement, they stumbled upon a hidden door behind a stack of old crates. Inside, they found a secret laboratory filled with strange equipment and jars containing bizarre specimens. "This must be where Sir Edward conducted his experiments," Liam said, examining the equipment. On a table, they found an old diary. As Emma read it, she discovered detailed accounts of the rituals and experiments Sir Edward had performed. "He was trying to summon something," Emma said, her voice trembling. "Something evil." Suddenly, the air grew cold, and they heard a low, guttural growl. That night, the mansion came alive with supernatural activity. Doors slammed shut, lights flickered, and ghostly figures appeared in the hallways. Emma, Liam, and Sarah huddled together, terrified. "We need to get out of here," Sarah said, her voice shaking. But as they tried to leave, the front door wouldn't budge. It was as if the house itself was trapping them inside. "There's no way out," Liam said, panic in his voice. Emma remembered the book she found in the library. "There must be a way to stop this. We need to find the ritual to banish whatever he summoned." Back in the library, Emma frantically searched through the book for the banishment ritual. The ghostly figures grew more aggressive, knocking over furniture and whispering threats. "Here it is," Emma shouted, finding the ritual. As she began to recite the incantation, the room grew colder. A dark, shadowy figure appeared, towering over them. "You cannot banish me," the figure hissed. "This house is mine." Emma's voice wavered, but she continued the ritual. The shadow screamed in rage, its form flickering and destabilizing. "Keep going, Emma," Liam urged. The shadowy figure lunged at them, but a bright light emanated from the book, pushing it back. Emma continued the incantation, her voice gaining strength. "You will not win," the shadow roared, but it was growing weaker. With a final burst of energy, Emma completed the ritual. The shadows screamed one last time before disintegrating into a cloud of dark mist. The mansion shook violently, then fell silent. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the ghostly figures vanished. "We did it," Sarah said, tears of relief in her eyes. But Emma knew it wasn't over. The house had secrets yet to reveal. In the days that followed, the mansion remained quiet. Emma and her friends cleaned up and prepared to leave. But as they packed, they couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. "We should go," Liam said. "This place is too dangerous." Emma nodded. "Let's leave this nightmare behind." They locked the mansion and drove away, vowing never to return. But as they looked back, they saw a figure in the window watching them leave. "Did you see that?" Sarah whispered. "Just keep driving," Emma said, gripping the wheel tightly. "We're never coming back." Back in their hometown, life slowly returned to normal. But Emma couldn't forget what happened. One night she found the old book on her bedside table, even though she had left it at the mansion. Her heart raced as she opened it. The pages had changed, now filled with new, ominous entries. "Welcome back," a voice whispered behind her. Emma spun around to see the shadowy figure from the mansion, its eyes glowing with malevolence. "You can never escape Hollow Hill," it said, reaching out for her. Emma screamed, the room plunging into darkness.
In the heart of Ravenwood Forest lies an old, desolate road, shrouded in mist and mystery. 4 friends, Sam, Emma, Ryan, and Jess, embark on a road trip and find themselves navigating this eerie path. Tall trees loom overhead, casting long shadows that seem to dance in the dim light. As they journey deeper into the forest, they come across the imposing gates of Ravenswood Manor, a dilapidated mansion said to be haunted by restless spirits. The wrought iron gates creak open ominously as they approach, inviting them into the depths of the estate. Inside Ravenswood Manor, the foyer is dimly lit by flickering candles, their flames casting dancing shadows on the walls. Dust hangs in the air, catching the faint moonlight that filters through the broken windows. The friends' footsteps echo through the empty halls as they explore the abandoned mansion. As they wander deeper into the mansion, they stumble upon a grand ballroom, its once opulent features now faded and decayed. The room is filled with the echo of music long gone, and the air is heavy with the scent of old perfume. Strange symbols adorn the walls, their meaning lost to time. Suddenly, ghostly figures materialize before them, translucent apparitions with hollow eyes and outstretched hands. The spirits drift through the ballroom, their movements graceful yet unsettling. The friends watch in horror as the ghosts draw closer, their presence filling the room with a chilling aura. With adrenaline coursing through their veins, the friends turn and flee from Ravenswood Manor, their hearts pounding with terror. They race through the empty halls, their breath ragged and their footsteps echoing off the walls. Behind them, the ghostly apparitions follow, their unearthly wails growing fainter as the friends struggle to escape.
An old abandoned cabin stands alone in the heart of a dense forest. The wooden walls are rotting, and the windows are broken, giving the place a forlorn look. Tall, menacing trees surround the cabin, their long shadows stretching as the sun begins to set. Inside the cabin, the living room is a relic of the past, covered in dust and cobwebs. An old moth-eaten sofa sits in the center of the room, facing a fireplace with burnt logs. A single lantern flickers, casting eerie shadows on the walls, hinting at the secrets the cabin holds. The kitchen is in complete disrepair, with broken cabinets and rusted appliances. Moonlight filters through a cracked window, casting a pale glow on an old blood-stained knife lying on the counter. The air is thick with the scent of decay and forgotten memories. A narrow path winds through the dark forest, with twisted tree branches reaching out like skeletal hands. The ground is littered with fallen leaves, and an eerie mist rises from the forest floor, adding to the sense of unease that hangs in the air. In a clearing deep within the forest, the full moon illuminates an ancient stone altar. The altar is covered in moss and vines, and strange symbols are carved into the stone, glowing faintly in the moonlight. The air is thick with an otherworldly presence, making the skin crawl. A dark, fast-flowing river cuts through the forest, its black waters reflecting the moonlight. A rickety wooden bridge spans the river, creaking ominously with each gust of wind. The sound of the rushing water adds to the sense of isolation and dread. The basement of the cabin is dark and damp, with stone walls covered in moss. Rusted chains hang from the ceiling, swaying slightly in the draft. The floor is littered with broken bottles and old bones, remnants of a sinister past. A hidden room in the basement, revealed by a secret door, is filled with ancient books and strange artifacts. A large, dusty mirror dominates the room, reflecting an eerie glow. The air is thick with the scent of old parchment and something darker, more malevolent. As dawn breaks, the edge of the forest is bathed in a soft, golden light. The shadows recede, revealing the cabin in the distance. Birds begin to sing, their cheerful notes bringing a sense of normalcy back to the eerie setting, but the haunting memories of the night linger. In the morning light, the abandoned cabin appears less menacing, but still forlorn. The broken windows and overgrown yard are clearly visible, and a sense of unease still lingers in the air. The events of the night have left their mark, a reminder that some secrets are best left undisturbed.
In the quaint town of Oakwood, nestled among towering trees, a group of friends receives an unexpected invitation to Ravenswood Manor, a sprawling estate rumored to be haunted. Despite the warnings of locals, they eagerly accept the invitation, drawn by the promise of adventure and the thrill of exploring the unknown. With excitement and trepidation, they set out for the manor, their imaginations running wild with tales of ghosts and spirits. As the friends arrive at Ravenswood Manor, they are struck by its imposing presence, a looming silhouette against the backdrop of the night sky. The air is heavy with a sense of foreboding as they step out of their car and approach the grand entrance. The doors creak open, welcoming them into the darkness within. Inside Ravenswood Manor, the friends are greeted by the grandeur of the grand hall, a vast space filled with antique furniture, intricate tapestries, and flickering candlelight. But beneath the opulence lies an undeniable sense of decay, as if the very walls of the manor are steeped in secrets and shadows. As they explore, they can't shake the feeling that they are being watched. As night falls, the friends gather for a dinner party in the grand hall, the flickering candlelight casting eerie shadows on the walls. The atmosphere is tense as they exchange nervous glances, the weight of the manor's history hanging heavy in the air. But as the night wears on, strange occurrences begin to unfold. A chill wind blowing through the room, objects moving of their own accord, and whispered voices echoing through the halls. After dinner, the friends venture into the library, a dimly lit room filled with ancient books and dusty shelves. As they browse the shelves, they come across a book bound in faded leather, an old journal belonging to the previous owner of the manor. Intrigued, they begin to read, uncovering the dark secrets that lie hidden within the pages. As the night progresses, the friends begin to encounter ghostly apparitions wandering the halls of Ravenswood Manor, shadowy figures that vanish as quickly as they appear. The friends try to rationalize what they're seeing, but the sense of unease only grows stronger. They realize they are not alone in the manor, and that something sinister lurks within its walls. Desperate to uncover the truth behind the hauntings, the friends decide to conduct a ritual to communicate with the spirits of Ravenswood Manor. Gathering in the grand hall, they light candles and chant incantations, their voices echoing through the darkness. But as the ritual reaches its climax, they unwittingly unleash forces beyond their control. As the ritual reaches its peak, the spirits of Ravenswood Manor manifest before the friends, a swirling mass of darkness and despair. The friends watch in horror as the spirits lash out, their voices filled with anger and sorrow. With nowhere to run, the friends brace themselves for a final confrontation with the forces that haunt the manor. With adrenaline coursing through their veins, the friends make a desperate bid for escape, racing through the halls of Ravenswood Manor as the spirits close in around them. They reach the front door, their hearts pounding in their chests, and burst out into the night, leaving the darkness of the manor behind them. As the friends emerge from Ravenswood Manor, they are greeted by the light of dawn breaking over the horizon, a beacon of hope in the darkness. Though shaken by their ordeal, they take comfort in the knowledge that they've survived the night and escaped the clutches of the haunted manor. As they walk away, they vow never to return to Ravenswood Manor again. In the heart of the town lies an abandoned asylum, its crumbling walls looming ominously against the night sky. 4 friends, Emma, Alex, Lily, and Jake, embark on a dare to spend the night inside. As they approach, the moon casts eerie shadows on the broken windows. With trepidation, they push open the rusted gates and step into the asylum's courtyard. The air is heavy with the scent of decay, and the sound of their footsteps echoes off the crumbling walls. As they enter the main entrance, a chill runs down their spines. As they enter a long-abandoned ward, they begin to hear faint whispers that seem to echo through the halls. The whispers grow louder and more insistent, filling the air with an otherworldly chorus that sends shivers down their spines. Suddenly, they come face to face with a ghostly apparition, a spectral figure with hollow eyes and tattered clothing. Its ethereal form glides towards them, its movements hauntingly graceful. Frozen with fear, they realize they are in the presence of something not of this world. With a collective scream, the friends turn and flee from the asylum, their hearts pounding with terror. They race through the dark hallways, their breath ragged and their footsteps echoing off the walls. Behind them, the ghostly whispers follow, urging them to return to the darkness. Exhausted and trembling, the friends emerge from the asylum, their minds reeling from the horrors they've witnessed. They vow never to speak of their night in the abandoned asylum again, haunted by the whispers that linger in the darkness. Exhausted and trembling, the friends emerge from the asylum, their minds reeling from the horrors they've witnessed. They vow never to speak of their night in the abandoned asylum again, haunted by the whispers that linger in the darkness. In a remote village nestled deep within a dense forest, a young couple, Emma and Jack, arrived at an old cabin they had rented for a weekend getaway. As they approached the cabin, the trees seemed to close in around them, casting long shadows that danced in the fading light. Despite the eerie atmosphere, Emma and Jack were excited for their adventure. Inside the cabin, the air was musty, and the furniture showed signs of age and neglect. Despite its rustic charm, there was an unsettling aura that permeated the space. Emma tried to shake off the feeling of unease, but Jack couldn't help but notice the strange symbols etched into the walls. As night fell, Emma and Jack decided to take a walk through the surrounding woods. The forest seemed to come alive with strange whispers that echoed through the trees, sending shivers down their spines. Despite their growing unease, they pressed on, drawn deeper into the darkness by an unseen force. As they ventured deeper into the woods, Emma and Jack began to see strange shadows flitting among the trees. The shapes seemed to twist and contort, taking on sinister forms that sent chills down their spines. Jack suggested they turn back, but Emma's curiosity got the better of her, and they pressed on. As they walked, the trees seemed to close in around them, their branches reaching out like grasping fingers. Emma's heart raced as she felt a growing sense of dread settle over her. Jack tried to reassure her, but even he couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Suddenly they stumbled upon a clearing, and before them stood a group of ghostly figures. Their pale faces were twisted in agony, and their eyes seemed to bore into Emma and Jack's souls. Frozen with fear, they watched as the apparitions floated closer, their whispers growing louder with each passing moment. With a cry, Emma and Jack turned and ran, their hearts pounding in their chests as they fled through the forest. The ghostly figures pursued them with relentless determination, their whispers echoing in their ears. Desperate for escape, they pushed themselves to their limits, praying for a way out of the nightmare. Finally, they burst out of the woods and into the clearing where the cabin stood. Gasping for breath, they collapsed on the ground, their bodies trembling with exhaustion and fear. As the first light of dawn broke through the trees, they knew they had escaped the forest's clutches, but the memory of their terrifying ordeal would haunt them forever. In the heart of a dense forest stands an old mansion, its once grand facade now crumbling and overgrown with ivy. 4 friends, Tom, Sarah, Emily, and Jake, arrive at the mansion one foggy evening, drawn by rumors of its haunting. The air is heavy with anticipation as they approach the imposing structure. With trepidation, the friends push open the creaking front door and step into the mansion's entryway. Cobwebs cling to the ceiling, and dust dances in the beams of their flashlights. The air is thick with a sense of foreboding as they take their first steps into the abandoned mansion. Inside the mansion, they encounter a labyrinth of hallways lined with closed doors. Each room they enter is filled with decaying remnants of the past, broken furniture, faded paintings, and tattered curtains. Strange symbols are etched into the walls, and the air is heavy with the scent of decay. As they delve deeper into the mansion, they begin to hear faint whispers that seem to echo through the halls. The whispers grow louder and more insistent, filling the air with an unsettling chorus. The friends exchange nervous glances, their hearts pounding as they try to locate the source of the haunting sounds. Suddenly, ghostly figures materialize before them, translucent apparitions with hollow eyes and outstretched hands. The ethereal beings glide through the air, their movements graceful yet unsettling. The friends watch in horror as the spirits draw closer, their presence filling the mansion with a chilling aura. With adrenaline driving them, the friends turn and flee from the mansion, their hearts pounding with terror. They race through the dark corridors, their breath ragged and their footsteps echoing off the walls. Behind them, the ghostly spirits follow, their unearthly wails growing fainter as the friends struggle to escape. Exhausted and trembling, the friends burst through the door of the mansion, their minds reeling from the horrors they've witnessed. They collapse on the ground outside, their bodies shaking with adrenaline and fear. As the mist begins to dissipate, they share a silent vow never to return to the mansion's shadowed halls.
On a chilly autumn evening, four friends, Mark, Lisa, Danny, and Sophie, arrived at the small, deserted village of Hollow Creek. They had heard rumors of a haunting and wanted to investigate. The village was eerily quiet, with mist curling around the old, decaying buildings. The friends walked through the empty streets, their footsteps echoing. They saw abandoned houses, broken street lamps, and overgrown gardens. As they explored, they noticed strange symbols carved into the doors and walls of the houses. They found an old inn at the center of the village. The door creaked as they pushed it open. Inside, the inn was dark and cold. Dust covered the furniture and a musty smell filled the air. They decided to stay there for the night, hoping to uncover the village's secrets. As night fell, the friends gathered in the main room of the inn. They set up their sleeping bags and lit a small fire in the fireplace. The flickering light cast eerie shadows on the walls. They heard faint whispers and creaks, but dismissed them as the old building settling. At midnight, Sophie woke up to a strange noise. She saw a figure standing at the foot of her sleeping bag. She screamed, waking the others. The figure vanished, but the friends could still feel its presence. They huddled together, too scared to sleep. The next morning, they decided to search the inn for clues. In an old chest, they found a diary. It belonged to a girl named Emily who lived in the village decades ago. Her last entry spoke of a dark presence that haunted Hollow Creek, driving the villagers away. As they read the diary, they learned that Emily had tried to summon spirits to help the village, but something went wrong. Instead of help, she had unleashed a malevolent entity. The friends realized that the haunting was real, and they were in grave danger. Suddenly, the room grew cold. The friends could see their breath in the air. The entity appeared before them, a dark, shadowy figure with glowing red eyes. It moved towards them, whispering in a language they couldn't understand. Panic set in as they tried to find a way out. Mark found an old key in the diary. Desperate, he used it on a hidden door they hadn't noticed before. The door led to a tunnel beneath the inn. The friends rushed through the tunnel, the entity's whispers echoing behind them. They emerged outside, gasping for breath. The friends didn't stop running until they were far from Hollow Creek. Exhausted and terrified, they vowed never to speak of what happened. As they left, they could still hear the faint whispers of the entity, warning them never to return.
It was a dreary afternoon when Sarah, Tom, and their teenage daughter Lily arrived at Eldridge Manor. The old, sprawling mansion stood ominously against the darkening sky, its windows like blank eyes staring back at them. The family had inherited the property from a distant relative, and despite its eerie appearance, they decided to give it a chance. "Wow, this place is huge!" Lily exclaimed, though her excitement was tempered by an uneasy feeling. Tom forced a smile. "Let's make it our home. It just needs a little work." Sarah glanced at the towering structure, feeling a chill run down her spine. "Let's get inside before it gets too dark." Inside, the manor was filled with antique furniture, dusty chandeliers, and creaking wooden floors. As they explored, they discovered a hidden staircase behind an old bookcase. Curiosity got the better of them, and they descended into a dimly lit basement. "This place is like a maze," Tom said, his voice echoing off the walls. Sarah found an old diary on a dusty table. "Look at this," she said, flipping through the pages. "It's from the 1800s. Lily, shining a flashlight around the room, gasped as she saw strange symbols carved into the walls. "What do these mean?" That night, as they settled into their new home, strange things began to happen. Lily's room was the coldest in the house, and she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Around midnight, she heard whispering voices and saw a shadow moving in the corner of her room. "Mom! Dad!" she screamed, running to their room. Tom and Sarah woke up startled. "What is it, Lily?" Tom asked. "There's something in my room. I heard voices and saw a shadow," Lily said, trembling. Sarah tried to comfort her. "It's just your imagination, honey. This place is old and creepy, but there's nothing to be afraid of." The next day, Sarah delved deeper into the old diary. It belonged to a woman named Eleanor Eldridge, who wrote about the strange occurrences in the manor and her experiments with the occult. She mentioned a mirror in the attic that was the source of the hauntings. "We need to find that mirror," Sarah said, showing the diary to Tom. Tom nodded. "Let's go to the attic." Together, they climbed the narrow staircase to the attic. Amidst the cobwebs and old trunks, they found the mirror, covered with a dusty cloth. "This must be it," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. As they uncovered the mirror, a cold breeze swept through the attic. The mirror's surface was strangely clear, and as they looked into it, they saw faint images of people moving behind them, ghostly figures trapped within the glass. Sarah gasped. "This is it. This is what's causing everything." Tom placed a hand on her shoulder. "We need to destroy it." But before they could act, the mirror began to glow, and the room filled with an unearthly light. The figures in the mirror became more distinct, reaching out towards them. "We need to get out of here," Tom shouted, pulling Sarah towards the stairs. That night, the hauntings intensified. Doors slammed shut on their own, footsteps echoed in empty hallways, and ghostly apparitions appeared throughout the house. The family realized they had to find a way to end the hauntings for good. "We need to perform a ritual," Sarah said, showing them a passage from the diary. "It's the only way to banish the spirits." Tom gathered the necessary items: candles, salt, and a ceremonial dagger. "Let's do this. We have no other choice." They set up the ritual in the basement, forming a circle with the salt and placing the mirror in the center. The family began the ritual, chanting the incantations from the diary. As they did, the temperature in the room dropped, and the ghostly figures from the mirror began to emerge, swirling around them. "Keep going," Sarah urged, her voice shaking. Tom held the dagger steady, ready for the final part of the ritual. "We're almost there." Lily, clutching her mother's hand, watched in terror as the spirits drew closer, their faces contorted with rage and sorrow. As Tom raised the dagger to complete the ritual, a powerful force knocked him to the ground. The mirror glowed brighter, and a deafening roar filled the room. "No, we can't stop now!" Sarah shouted, helping Tom up. With renewed determination, Tom plunged the dagger into the mirror. The glass shattered, releasing a blinding light and a wave of cold air that knocked them all back. The spirits screamed and dissipated, leaving the room in silence. The temperature began to rise, and the oppressive feeling lifted. "It's over," Tom said, breathing heavily. The next morning, the manor felt different. Sunlight streamed through the windows, and the oppressive atmosphere was gone. The family began packing their things, eager to leave the haunted house behind. "We did it," Lily said, smiling for the first time in days. Sarah nodded. "Let's never speak of this place again." Tom agreed. "We need to move on with our lives." As they drove away from Eldridge Manor, the weight of the past days lifted, and they felt hopeful for the future. Back home, life seemed to return to normal. However, one night, Sarah found a piece of the shattered mirror in her bag. She stared at it, her heart pounding. Suddenly, she heard a familiar whisper and saw a shadow move across the room. "Tom, it's not over," she whispered, feeling a chill run down her spine. As the shadow loomed larger, the whisper grew louder, and Sarah realized with horror that the spirits had followed them home.
On a crisp autumn day, a group of friends arrives at a remote cabin nestled deep within the Whispering Woods. The leaves crunch beneath their feet as they unload their belongings from the car, eager for a weekend of hiking and relaxation. But as they glance into the dense forest surrounding the cabin, a sense of unease washes over them, as if the trees themselves are whispering secrets they dare not share. The friends set out on a hike through the Whispering Woods, following a narrow trail that winds through the dense foliage. The air is cool and fragrant, and the only sound is the gentle rustle of leaves overhead. But as they venture deeper into the forest, the whispers grow louder, like a chorus of voices urging them to turn back. As they hike, the friends stumble upon an abandoned cabin hidden deep in the woods. The windows are shattered, and the door hangs off its hinges. Intrigued, they decide to investigate, their curiosity outweighing their sense of caution. But as they step inside, they're greeted by an eerie silence that hangs heavy in the air. Inside the cabin, the friends find strange symbols scrawled on the walls and mysterious artifacts scattered about. A sense of unease washes over them as they realize they've stumbled upon something dark and sinister. They exchange nervous whispers, their voices echoing in the empty space. As night falls, the friends gather around a campfire outside the cabin, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames. But as they talk and laugh, they become aware of a strange sound, a soft whispering that seems to emanate from the very air around them. Their laughter fades, replaced by a growing sense of unease. That night, the friends are plagued by haunting dreams, visions of shadowy figures lurking in the darkness, their eyes glowing with malevolent intent. They toss and turn in their sleep, unable to escape the grip of fear that holds them tight. When they wake, they find themselves drenched in sweat, their hearts pounding in their chests. As the whispers grow louder and more insistent, the friends begin to unravel, their minds tormented by the malevolent voices that seem to follow them wherever they go. They argue and accuse one another, their once strong bonds fraying under the weight of paranoia and fear. But as they spiral further into madness, they realize they must confront the darkness that lurks within the Whispering Woods if they have any hope of escaping its grasp. Armed with determination, the friends set out into the forest, their hearts pounding in their chests as they confront the source of the whispers that have tormented them for so long. With each step, the voices grow louder, until they're surrounded by a cacophony of sound that threatens to drive them mad. But as they reach the heart of the woods, they discover the truth. The whispers are not coming from some malevolent force, but from the very trees themselves, their branches swaying in the breeze like fingers beckoning them closer. With a newfound sense of understanding, the friends make their way out of the forest, their minds clearer than they've been in days. As they emerge into the light of day, they feel a weight lifted from their shoulders, knowing that they've faced their fears and emerged stronger for it. Though the Whispering Woods will always hold a certain mystique, they know they'll never again be haunted by the whispers that once tormented them.
Briarwood Manor stood silent and foreboding at the end of a long, winding road. Jane, a young historian, arrived just as the sun was setting. She had heard stories about the mansion's dark past and was determined to uncover the truth. As she approached the front door, the wind howled and the trees whispered ominously. Jane pushed open the heavy wooden door, which creaked loudly. The interior was dark and filled with the smell of dust and decay. She turned on her flashlight, revealing a grand but dilapidated foyer. The once beautiful chandeliers hung broken, and the walls were lined with tattered wallpaper. In the main hallway, Jane's flashlight beam fell on a large portrait of a stern-looking man. The eyes seemed to follow her as she moved. She felt a shiver run down her spine. Suddenly, a cold breeze blew through the hallway, and the portrait's expression changed to one of anger. Jane discovered a hidden door behind a bookshelf in the library. She pushed it open to find a small, secret room. The room was filled with old, dusty books and strange artifacts. In the center of the room was a table with a large, leather-bound journal. She opened it and began to read. The journal belonged to William Briarwood, the original owner of the manor. It detailed dark rituals and a pact with a malevolent spirit to gain wealth and power. The final entry mentioned a curse that would doom anyone who lived in the house. Jane realized the manor was haunted by the spirits of those sacrificed in the rituals. As Jane read the journal, she heard whispers around her. Ghostly figures of the sacrificed appeared, their faces twisted in agony. They warned her to leave before it was too late. The temperature in the room dropped, and Jane could see her breath. She knew she had to get out. Rushing to leave, Jane encountered the malevolent spirit of William Briarwood himself. He appeared at the top of the grand staircase, his eyes glowing with an evil light. He blocked her path, his voice echoing through the manor, threatening her for disturbing his peace. Jane ran through the dark hallways, the spirit close behind her. She burst through the front door and into the night. The manor seemed to sigh as she left, the wind howling around her. She didn't stop running until she reached her car. As she drove away, she could still feel the spirit's eyes on her. Safe in her apartment, Jane reviewed the footage she had captured. The images of the spirits and the journal entries were clear evidence of the haunting. She knew she had to share the story, but a part of her feared the curse might follow her. She felt a cold draft and shivered, wondering if she was truly safe. Michael, a man in his late 30s, receives a surprising letter. His great-uncle, whom he barely knew, has passed away, leaving him an old manor in the remote countryside. Intrigued and financially struggling, Michael decides to visit the manor with his wife, Sarah, and their teenage daughter, Emily. Michael reads the letter aloud. It says we have inherited an estate. Sarah looks at him skeptically. Are you sure this is a good idea? Michael nods. We could use a fresh start. Besides, what harm could it do? Emily, always up for an adventure, adds, It sounds exciting. Let's go. The family arrives at the manor in the late afternoon. The mansion is grand but clearly neglected, surrounded by overgrown gardens and tall, dense trees. The sky is overcast, casting a gloomy shadow over the scene. Emily shivers. This place gives me the creeps. Michael tries to be optimistic. It's just old. We can fix it up. Sarah clutches Emily's hand. Let's stay close and see what's inside. Inside, the manor is filled with dust, cobwebs, and a musty smell. The furniture is covered with white sheets. As they explore, Emily finds an old, ornate mirror in one of the rooms. Unlike the rest of the house, the mirror's surface is strangely clean. Look at this mirror, Emily calls out. Sarah touches the frame. It's beautiful, but it feels out of place. Michael frowns. Why is it so clean? That night, the family tries to settle in. Michael and Sarah fall asleep quickly, but Emily struggles. Around midnight, she hears faint whispers and feels a cold breeze. The mirror in her room begins to fog up, revealing words written from the inside. Help us, it reads. Terrified, Emily runs to her parents' room. Mom, Dad, there's something in the mirror. Michael, groggy, tries to comfort her. It's just your imagination, Emily. Go back to sleep. The next day, the family visits the local library to learn more about the manor. They discover that it was owned by Michael's great-uncle, a reclusive man with a dark interest in the occult. Sarah reads from an old newspaper. Local recluse found dead under mysterious circumstances. Manor believed to be haunted. Michael sighs. This explains a lot. We need to be careful. Emily, still shaken, adds, What if the spirits are still here? Back at the manor, Michael discovers a hidden door in the basement. Inside, they find an old study filled with books on the occult, strange artifacts, and a large locked chest. Sarah examines a book. He was into dark stuff. This can't be good. Michael tries to open the chest, but fails. We need to find the key. There might be answers inside. Emily points to a strange symbol on the wall. I've seen this symbol before, in my room. That night, the hauntings escalate. Objects move on their own, and ghostly apparitions appear. Emily is dragged out of bed by an unseen force, and Sarah sees a shadowy figure standing at the end of the hallway, watching them. We have to leave now, Sarah screams, but the doors are locked and won't open. Michael grabs an old book from the study. This book has instructions to banish the spirits. We need to perform the ritual. Desperate, the family gathers in the basement to perform the ritual. They light candles and arrange the symbols in a circle. Michael reads the incantation aloud, while Sarah and Emily hold hands, trembling. As the ritual progresses, the house shakes, and the spirits grow more agitated. A blinding light fills the room, and the spirits are drawn into the circle, screaming. "Keep going, Michael!" Sarah yells over the noise. With a final shout, Michael completes the incantation, and the spirits vanish. The house falls silent. The next morning, the manor feels different. The oppressive atmosphere is gone, and sunlight streams through the windows. The family packs up their belongings, relieved that the ordeal is over. "We should tell someone about this place," Sarah says, looking back at the manor. Michael nods. "Let's make sure no one else has to go through this." They drive away, leaving the manor behind. Back home, life seems to return to normal. But one night, Emily finds the old mirror in her room, even though they left it at the manor. Her heart races as she sees words slowly appear on the surface. "We are not done," it reads. Emily turns to see a shadowy figure standing in the corner, its eyes glowing with malevolence. She screams as the room plunges into darkness.
In a small town nestled among the hills, a group of friends receives an invitation to spend a weekend at a secluded manor on the outskirts of town. Excited for a getaway, they eagerly accept, unaware of the darkness that lurks within the old estate. As they approach the imposing gates of the manor, a sense of unease washes over them, but they dismiss it as mere nerves. The friends enter the grand foyer of the manor, their footsteps echoing on the marble floors. Dust covers every surface, and cobwebs hang from the chandeliers overhead. Despite its faded grandeur, the manor exudes an air of mystery and intrigue. They exchange nervous glances, wondering what secrets lie hidden within its walls. As night falls, the friends gather for a dinner party in the grand dining hall. The table is set with fine china and silverware, but the food sits untouched, as if waiting for guests who will never arrive. As they dine, they can't shake the feeling of being watched, and strange noises echo through the empty halls. As the night wears on, the friends split up to explore the manor, each one drawn to a different part of the house by an unseen force. They wander the darkened corridors, their footsteps echoing on the hardwood floors. Strange whispers fill the air, their words indistinct but undeniably menacing. As they explore, one of the friends encounters a ghostly apparition. A woman dressed in a flowing white gown, her hair cascading down her back in loose waves. She reaches out to them with ethereal hands, her eyes filled with longing and sadness. The friend staggers back in terror, their heart pounding in their chest. As the night progresses, the friends uncover dark secrets hidden within the manor's walls, a history of tragedy and betrayal that spans generations. They find old journals and letters, piecing together the story of the manor's past inhabitants. But as they delve deeper, they awaken something sinister that has been lying dormant for years. As the night wears on, the friends begin to unravel, their minds tormented by the malevolent forces that haunt the manor. They argue and accuse one another, their once strong bonds fraying under the weight of paranoia and fear. But as they spiral further into madness, they realize they must confront the darkness that lurks within the manor if they have any hope of escaping its grasp. Armed with determination, the friends set out to confront the evil that haunts the manor once and for all. They gather in the grand foyer, their hearts pounding in their chests as they prepare to face their greatest fears. With a final glance at one another, they steel themselves for the battle ahead. As dawn breaks, the friends emerge from the manor, battered and bruised but alive. They exchange weary smiles, knowing that they've faced their fears and emerged stronger for it. Though the scars of their ordeal will never fully heal, they take solace in the knowledge that they've conquered the darkness that once threatened to consume them. As the sun sets, casting a crimson glow over the horizon, an imposing mansion stands silent and forsaken. Its once grand facade now weathered and covered in ivy, the mansion casts eerie shadows across the overgrown lawn, hinting at the secrets it holds within. In the neglected garden surrounding the mansion, tangled bushes and wilted flowers paint a haunting picture. Moonlight filters through the twisted branches of the trees, casting an ethereal glow upon patches of the eerie landscape, where shadows seemed to dance in silent reverie. On the grand front porch of the mansion, once a beacon of opulence, now lies cracked and crumbling under the weight of time. Moonlight casts long shadows across the faded steps, adding to the sense of abandonment that permeates the air. Within the mansion's foyer, the dim light of dusty chandeliers flickers weakly, casting eerie shadows upon the tattered wallpaper. Moonlight filters through broken windows, illuminating cobweb-covered furniture that sits frozen in time, a silent witness to the mansion's descent into decay. In the cavernous ballroom of the mansion, the once glamorous dance floor now rots beneath neglect. Faded tapestries hang from the walls like forgotten memories, while moonlight streams through cracked skylights, casting ghostly patterns upon the abandoned space, as if the echoes of bygone celebrations still linger in the air. Within the mansion's library, the scent of dust hangs heavy in the air, mingling with the musty aroma of aging books. Tattered armchairs sit among shelves of ancient tomes, while moonlight filters through stained glass windows, casting colorful shadows upon the worn carpet that bears the weight of forgotten knowledge. In the dilapidated dining hall of the mansion, a long table lies buried beneath layers of cobwebs and neglect. Overturned chairs litter the floor, while moonlight streams through broken windows, casting an ethereal glow upon the decaying scene, where echoes of feasts long past still resonate in the silent air. Within the mansion's study, dusty bookshelves groan under the weight of forgotten knowledge, while forgotten artifacts gather dust in every corner. Moonlight filters weakly through dusty windows, casting long shadows upon the stacks of papers and abandoned furniture that clutter the room, where the ghosts of scholarly pursuits still linger in the darkness. In a desolate bedroom of the mansion, the once grand bed frame now sags under the weight of time, its faded curtains hanging limply from rusted rods. Moonlight filters weakly through cracked windows, casting eerie shadows upon the peeling walls, where whispers of dreams long forgotten still echo in the silent night. As dawn breaks over this mansion's overgrown backyard, the soft light of morning bathes the decaying structures in an ethereal glow. Mist rises from the damp earth, shrouding the forgotten corners of the estate in a veil of mystery, where the spirits of the past find solace in the dawn of a new day.
Emma, a young writer in her late 20s, inherits an old mansion called Ravenswood Manor from her estranged aunt. Hoping to find inspiration for her next novel, she moves into the house. As she steps inside, she feels an unsettling chill. The house, surrounded by tall, dark trees, looks like it hasn't been lived in for years. Dust covers the furniture, and the air is thick with the scent of old wood and mildew. She feels a strange sense of foreboding, but brushes it off as nerves. On her first night, Emma struggles to sleep. The house is filled with strange noises, the creaking of floorboards, the whisper of the wind through cracks in the windows, and distant, indistinct whispers. She hears what sounds like footsteps outside her bedroom door, but when she checks, no one is there. She returns to bed, uneasy and sleep-deprived. The next day, while exploring the house, Emma discovers a locked door in the basement. Curious, she searches the house and finds an old rusty key hidden in a drawer. She uses the key to unlock the door and finds a small room filled with old furniture, cobwebs, and a large ornate mirror covered with a cloth. Emma removes the cloth from the mirror and, to her shock, sees the reflection of a young girl standing behind her. When she turns around, no one is there. The mirror begins to show disturbing images of past events in the house, including a girl being trapped and crying for help. Emma feels a chill run down her spine. Determined to find out more, Emma searches the house and finds an old diary hidden behind a loose brick in the fireplace. The diary belonged to her aunt and details a tragic story of a girl named Lily who lived in the house and mysteriously disappeared. Emma realizes the ghost she saw is Lily, trapped in the mirror. Emma decides to perform a seance to communicate with Lily's spirit. She sets up candles and chants words from the diary. The room grows cold, and Lily's ghost appears, revealing that she was trapped by a dark ritual performed by Emma's aunt. Lily begs Emma to free her. Following Lily's instructions, Emma gathers the items needed to break the ritual: a locket, a piece of Lily's clothing, and a special incantation. As she performs the ritual, the house shakes violently, and a dark, malevolent spirit tries to stop her. Emma persists, chanting the incantation louder and louder. The dark spirit attacks, but Emma continues the ritual, calling out to Lily for strength. A bright light fills the room, and the dark spirit screams before dissipating into nothingness. Lily's spirit smiles gratefully at Emma before ascending into the light, finally freed. With the haunting over, the house feels lighter and more welcoming. Emma finishes her novel, inspired by Lily's story. She decides to keep Everwood Manor and transform it into a place of peace and creativity. Sitting on the porch, she feels a deep connection to the house and its history, ready for a new beginning. Lena, Mark, and Sarah arrived at Ravenswood House, an old, decrepit mansion that had been abandoned for years. The house stood at the end of a lonely road, surrounded by thick, twisted trees. They were there to investigate the rumored hauntings for their paranormal blog. "This place is giving me chills already," Sarah whispered, hugging her coat tighter. "Perfect for our blog," Mark replied, setting up his camera. "Let's capture some real scares." Lena pushed open the heavy wooden door, which creaked loudly. "Let's go in and set up. The sooner we start, the sooner we can leave." Inside, the house was dark and filled with the smell of mold and dust. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling, and old furniture was scattered about. As they explored, they found old portraits on the walls, books with yellowed pages, and broken trinkets. "Look at this," Mark said, picking up a dusty photograph of a family. "They must have lived here a long time ago." Lena shivered. "It feels like they're still watching us." Sarah glanced nervously at the dark corners. "Let's just get the footage and get out of here." Lena found an old leather-bound journal on a table covered in dust. She opened it carefully and started reading aloud. The journal belonged to the house's previous owner, detailing strange occurrences and sightings of a ghostly figure. "Listen to this," Lena said, her voice trembling. "The owner saw a woman in white every night standing by the window." Sarah hugged herself. "That's creepy. What happened to them?" Lena turned the pages. "It just stops. No explanation." Mark filmed Lena reading. "This is exactly what we need. Keep going." As they continued exploring, the temperature in the room suddenly dropped. They saw a figure in a white dress standing at the end of the hallway. The figure's face was obscured by shadows, but they could feel its eyes on them. "Do you see that?" Mark whispered, his camera shaking. "Yes," Sarah replied, her voice barely audible. "Let's get out of here." The figure started moving towards them. They ran, slamming a door behind them. "We have to leave," Sarah insisted, her eyes wide with fear. "Not yet," Lena said, determined. "We need to find out what's really happening here." Lena found another entry in the journal that described a ritual to banish the spirit. They needed to gather candles, salt, and a mirror. The tension was palpable as they worked quickly, knowing the spirit could return any moment. "Are you sure this will work?" Mark asked, placing candles around the room. "It has to," Lena replied, pouring salt in a circle. "We don't have any other choice." Sarah held the mirror, her hands shaking. "Just hurry." As they began the ritual, the spirit returned, more menacing than before. It howled and thrashed against the barrier created by the salt circle. Lena chanted the incantation from the journal, her voice growing stronger with each word. "Keep it away from us!" Sarah shouted, clutching the mirror tightly. "We're almost there!" Lena yelled, her focus unbroken. The spirit's form began to waver and dissolve as the ritual reached its climax. With a final, desperate scream, it vanished into thin air. They collapsed to the floor, exhausted but relieved. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, replaced by an eerie calm. "We did it," Lena said, her voice barely a whisper. "Let's get out of here," Sarah urged, her eyes still wide with fear. They gathered their equipment and left the house, the first light of dawn breaking over the horizon. As they walked away, they felt a sense of triumph and relief. "Let's never do this again," Mark said, managing a weak smile. As they walked away from the house, the sun rose higher, casting a warm glow over the landscape. The house behind them was now just a distant memory, a place they would never forget but never return to. "Let's make a pact," Lena said, stopping to look at her friends. "We never speak of this again." "Agreed," Mark and Sarah said in unison. They walked on, leaving the haunted Ravenswood house behind, grateful to have survived their night of terror.
Blackwood Manor stood isolated at the edge of a dense forest, its Gothic architecture looming ominously against the darkening sky. Emily, a young journalist, arrived to investigate the mysterious disappearances that had plagued the manor for decades. Determined to uncover the truth, she parked her car and approached the grand yet decaying front doors. As Emily stepped inside, the door creaked loudly, echoing through the vast, dimly lit hall. Dust motes danced in the air, disturbed by her presence. The air was cold and an unsettling silence enveloped her. She turned on her flashlight, illuminating the grand staircase and the darkened corners of the hall. Emily walked into the living room, where old furniture lay shrouded in white sheets. A large fireplace dominated one wall, with an ornate mirror hanging above it. She felt a chill as she noticed a faint figure reflected in the mirror. But when she turned, the room was empty. The only sound was the faint ticking of an old grandfather clock. Emily found a long hallway lined with portraits of the Blackwood family. The eyes of the painted figures seemed to follow her as she walked. One portrait, in particular, caught her attention. A stern-looking woman with piercing eyes. Suddenly, Emily felt a cold hand on her shoulder. But when she turned around, there was no one there. The library was filled with ancient books and heavy wooden furniture. Emily felt drawn to an old leather-bound journal on a desk. As she opened it, she found entries detailing strange rituals and dark secrets of the Blackwood family. The temperature in the room dropped suddenly, and the whispers of unseen figures filled the air. Emily discovered a hidden door leading to the basement. As she descended the creaking stairs, the air grew colder and the darkness thicker. Her flashlight flickered, casting eerie shadows on the damp walls. She heard distant, echoing whispers and the faint sound of footsteps following her. At the bottom of the stairs, Emily found a room filled with strange symbols and an altar. The air was thick with the scent of incense and decay. She realized this was where the Blackwood family had conducted their dark rituals. As she explored, she heard a low, menacing chant and felt an oppressive presence closing in on her. Emily's flashlight died, plunging her into darkness. The chanting grew louder, and ghostly figures emerged from the shadows. She felt a cold hand grip her arm, pulling her towards the altar. Summoning her courage, she broke free and ran up the stairs, the spirit's wails echoing behind her. Emily burst out of Blackwood Manor, gasping for breath. The night was still and silent, a stark contrast to the horrors inside. Clutching the journal, she vowed to expose the truth about the Blackwood family. As she walked away, she glanced back one last time, seeing the faint outline of a figure watching her from an upstairs window.
Emma, a young writer in her late 20s, inherits an old mansion called Ravenswood Manor from her estranged uncle. She decides to visit the house, hoping it will be a quiet place to write her novel. As she arrives, she feels an unsettling chill in the air. The house, surrounded by dark woods, looks like it hasn't been touched in years. Vines creep up the stone walls, and the windows are dark and foreboding. On her first night, Emma struggles to sleep. The house creaks and groans as if it's alive. She hears footsteps in the hallway and the faint sound of whispers. When she investigates, she finds nothing but darkness and silence. She returns to bed, feeling uneasy. The next day, while exploring the house, Emma discovers a locked door in the basement. Curious, she searches the house and finds an old, rusty key hidden in a drawer. She uses the key to unlock the door and finds a small room filled with old furniture, cobwebs, and a large, ornate mirror covered with a cloth. Emma removes the cloth from the mirror and, to her shock, sees the reflection of a young girl standing behind her. When she turns around, no one is there. The mirror begins to show disturbing images of past events in the house, including a girl being trapped and crying for help. Emma feels a chill run down her spine. Determined to find out more, Emma searches the house and finds an old diary hidden behind a loose brick in the fireplace. The diary belonged to her uncle and details a tragic story of a girl named Lily who lived in the house and mysteriously disappeared. Emma realizes the ghost she saw as Lily, trapped in the mirror. Emma decides to perform a seance to communicate with Lily's spirit. She sets up candles and chants words from the diary. The room grows cold and Lily's ghost appears, revealing that she was trapped by a dark ritual performed by Emma's uncle. Lily begs Emma to free her. Following Lily's instructions, Emma gathers the items needed to break the ritual: a locket, a piece of Lily's clothing, and a special incantation. As she performs the ritual, the house shakes violently, and a dark, malevolent spirit tries to stop her. Emma persists, chanting the incantation louder and louder. The dark spirit attacks, but Emma continues the ritual, calling out to Lily for strength. A bright light fills the room, and the dark spirit screams before dissipating into nothingness. Lily's spirit smiles gratefully at Emma before ascending into the light, finally freed. With the haunting over, the house feels lighter and more welcoming. Emma finishes her novel, inspired by Lily's story. She decides to keep Ravenswood Manor and transform it into a place of peace and creativity. Sitting on the porch, she feels a deep connection to the house and its history, ready for a new beginning. Sophie arrived at Briarwood Manor, a sprawling estate she inherited from her great-uncle. The mansion stood alone on a hill, surrounded by gnarled trees and thick fog. As she approached, the gate creaked open on its own, setting her nerves on edge. She hesitated but walked through, determined to uncover the secrets of her inheritance. Sophie stepped inside the manor, greeted by a grand but dusty foyer. The air was heavy with the scent of decay. As she moved further in, the front door slammed shut behind her with a loud bang. Startled, she spun around, but no one was there. The only light came from her flickering flashlight. In the living room, old furniture was covered in white sheets. An antique clock ticked loudly, breaking the silence. Sophie noticed a photograph on the mantelpiece, showing her great-uncle with an unknown woman. Suddenly, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned quickly, but the room was empty. Sophie walked down a hallway lined with portraits of her ancestors. Their eyes seemed to follow her every move. She felt a chill as she passed by a particularly stern-looking man. As she continued, she heard a whisper, almost as if someone was calling her name. She froze, heart pounding. In the library, Sophie found shelves filled with dusty old books. One book in particular caught her eye, an old journal. As she read through it, she discovered it belonged to her great-uncle, detailing strange events and encounters with a dark presence. The room grew colder, and she felt like she was being watched. Behind a bookshelf, Sophie discovered a hidden door. She hesitated but felt compelled to open it. The door revealed a dark, narrow staircase leading down. Holding her flashlight, she descended, each step echoing in the silence. The air grew damp and cold. The basement was filled with old furniture and strange symbols painted on the walls. In the center stood an altar with black candles and an old book. As Sophie approached, the candles flickered to life, casting an eerie glow. She felt an overwhelming sense of dread as she heard distant whispers. Sophie's flashlight flickered and died, plunging her into darkness. The whispers grew louder, and she felt a cold hand on her shoulder. She spun around to see a ghostly figure of the unknown woman from the photograph, her eyes filled with sorrow. "Help me," the figure whispered. Terrified, Sophie ran up the stairs, the house seeming to come alive with shadows moving and doors slamming. She burst through the front door into the foggy night, her heart pounding. She didn't stop running until she reached her car. She looked back once more, vowing never to return. Breathing heavily, Sophie glanced back at the manor as she reached her car. In an upstairs window, she saw the ghostly figure of the unknown woman watching her. The whispers faded, but the memory of that night would haunt her forever. She drove away, never looking back. On a dark, stormy night, 5 friends, Alice, Ben, Clara, David, and Eva, walk down a desolate street. They come across an old, dilapidated house at the end of the road. The house is known among locals as the last house on the street and is rumored to be haunted. Despite their fear, curiosity gets the better of them, and they decide to explore the house. The door creaks loudly as they push it open, revealing a dusty, abandoned interior. They enter the living room, which is filled with old furniture and a large, cracked mirror on the wall. Suddenly, the door slams shut behind them, and they hear faint whispering. The whispering leads them to a hidden door behind the stairs, which opens to a dark basement. Hesitant but determined, they descend the creaky steps, the air growing colder with each step. In the basement, they find an old chest. When they open it, they discover ancient cursed artifacts and a diary. The diary tells the story of a family that disappeared mysteriously, and it warns of a malevolent spirit trapped in the house. As they read the diary, the temperature drops, and a chilling presence fills the room. Shadows begin to move on their own, and the friends see a ghostly figure emerging from the darkness. Realizing they need to escape, they run back up the stairs. The house seems to come alive, with doors slamming and windows shattering. They finally break free and run out into the stormy night, vowing never to return. Back in the safety of their homes, they sit together, shaken but relieved. They know they will never forget the night they encountered the haunted house at the end of the street. On a foggy night, 4 friends, Jake, Emily, Noah, and Lisa, stood outside the iron gates of Redwood Manor. The mansion was infamous for being haunted, and they had decided to spend the night there as a dare. They pushed open the heavy front door, which groaned loudly. Inside, the house was dark and dusty. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling, and old portraits watched them from the walls. They moved into the living room, where a grand piano stood in one corner and a large, broken chandelier hung from the ceiling. Suddenly, the piano played a single, eerie note, making them all jump. They cautiously climbed the creaky staircase to the second floor. The hallway was long and dark, with several closed doors. A cold breeze made them shiver, and they heard faint, eerie whispers. They opened one door and found an old nursery. Dusty toys were scattered around, and a rocking chair in the corner started moving on its own. They heard a child's laughter echoing through the room. Panicked, they ran downstairs and found a door leading to the basement. Despite their fear, they decided to investigate. The basement was even darker and colder. Strange symbols were drawn on the walls, and old furniture was strewn around. In the basement, they heard footsteps behind them. Turning around, they saw the ghostly figure of a woman in a tattered dress. Her hollow eyes stared at them as she whispered, "Leave this place." Screaming, they ran up the stairs and out of the house. The door slammed shut behind them, and they could still hear the ghostly whispers. They vowed never to return to Redwood Manor. Back at home, the friends sat together, still shaken by their experience. They knew they had encountered something truly terrifying and agreed never to speak of it again.